Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is just around the corner. I am so happy and so excited to be delving back into this world, diving back into Hell's Kitchen, and seeing what happens when the devil of Hell's Kitchen and the kingpin go toe to toe this season. This season, I have a feeling, is going to be absolutely awesome, and it's going to get even more awesome considering the fact that we have Jessica Jones coming back this season. But we need to see what got us to this point. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you all every single one of my reviews for Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Every single one of my reviews put together into one big video so that you guys know my thoughts and, at the time, some of my theories as to where the show might go. And so that you're all caught up and ready for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. Of course, we are going to be covering this on the channel, so be sure to look out for those reviews on the channel relatively soon, because the show will be coming out on March 24th, so we're only just like a few days away from it. But enough of my jibber jabber. Please enjoy past me talking about Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Let's kick it off with the first 2 episodes. So, that was a hell of a way to start. Holy moly. Alright. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Daniel Strum from Quick Time Reactions, and we're going to be doing something a little different for this. Normally, I would cover a show at the end when it's all said and done. But I think, just for this case, and I may start doing this more and more often, but I think this is more special and deserving right now. We are going to talk episode by episode of Daredevil Born Again. And I'm so looking forward to talking about this. Set a few years after the events of the Netflix show, we see the gang reunited again, but of course there's more villainy in Hell's Kitchen that needs to be cleaned up, and with Fisk as mayor now, it's going to get a lot more interesting to try and clean up crime in New York. So, like I said, this is a kind of a continuation of the Netflix show, in a way, and, you know, they definitely put their own spin on this, for sure. Just as a heads up, this is going to be spoiler filled, just to get that out the way. I'm going to talk spoilers, and it's going to be very interesting. So, without further ado, let's get into episode 1, Heaven's Half Hour. We open up on our trio, of course, Murdoch, Paige, and Nelson. charliecox, deborahannwoll, and Eldon Henson, as they close up shop for the day and head to Josie's, where they're sipping on drinks and having some fun when a mysterious guy by the name of Benny calls Foggy on his phone to let him know that he's looking for him. Matt, of course, suits up in his costume and tries to find out where this is all happening, but of course it is Benjamin Poindexter, Bullseye, Wilson Bethel returning to the show, and he shoots Foggy. He has a couple of smoke grenades and smokes out Josie's, but it was lucky that Cherry, played by Clark Johnson in the show, and I believe Heather Glenn. I don't think it was Heather. I'm trying to remember the name of the character, but another cop that Sherry was close with. They clear out the bar, but Ben and Matt get into a really long oneer. Of course, oneers were a staple in the Netflix show, and I think they did a pretty good job with this oneer. I want to know if this was a true oneer, because a lot of like people pass in front of the frame, so I'm just wondering if they actually did shoot this in a oneer, and if they did, that was really awesome. Ends up on the roof, and Matt, with using his heightened hearing, hears Foggy's heart stop, and Foggy's dead. And just for good measure, Matt chucks Poindexter off the building and hits the ground hard. And he basically chucks his cowl. Doesn't chuck the cowl, he lets his cowl go off of the roof, and we get that shot from the trailer of his cowl falling with all like the police and the ambulance and stuff like that happening, which leads into the opening credits for the show, which I think are really, really good. All of the stuff kind of crumbling, police, the courts, the church, and even his own Daredevil mask, and it slowly comes together to make Daredevil again. I thought that was a really cool touch. Episode 1 was directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, which are a couple of the guys who did a couple of episodes of Moon Knight, and was also written by David Scapeno, I believe I'm saying his last name correct, who was one of the original showrunners on the Netflix show. So, there you go. A year has passed since Foggy was killed, and Poindexter is now on trial for killing 11 guys on that night, and he is sentenced to life for each of one of those. Karen does show up at the trial just to kind of support the trial and just to think of Foggy, and I really liked the conversation that they had in the courthouse, where they both want to be together, but they also they're both in mourning, and they're just want to both be their separate ways. Meanwhile, Fisk is currently running for mayor, and he is slowly but surely gaining support, but things are also rocky with his relationship with Vanessa, and I really like their dynamic in this, where it's like she definitely seems to have the power over him, and he has certain cards that he has against her, and it's like I love this dynamic where it's like two people have aces up their sleeves, they just don't know when to play it, and I absolutely love that. Fisk is, of course, elected as mayor, and the diner scene in which they released on YouTube with Kingpin and Matt talking in that diner, basically just saying, look, stay in your lane, and we won't have to fight each other. That's basically all the conversation they had. But it's a credit to Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio that you hang off of every single word that they say, and I absolutely love that. The episode ends with kind of the two parallel shots of Fisk looking out over a roof to the city in which he's now been elected, and Matt looking up in the sky, almost like they're looking down, or Fisk is looking down at Matt. Matt is looking up at Fisk. I love that final shot. Matt bathed in red lighting, whereas Fisk is sometimes illuminated by the is it either spotlight or maybe helicopter lights, one of the two. Um, I just really like that final shot, and that was a really, really big first statement. Moving on to episode 2, titled Optics. Um, Fisk is trying to ingratiate himself with the people. His aide, I'm trying to see here. I think it is Sabrina Guevara that plays Fisk's aide, Sheila Rivera, I believe. Um, Saying, like, you need to ingratiate yourself with the people and all the places in New York, like the police station and all that stuff, because you want to be a man of the people. Um, and Fisk sees they're stopped in traffic, and Fisk um, sees that there's a hole in the road, and he's like, well, why don't you fill that hole? And the workers are like, we don't have the permit. Well, Fisk said, you do now. And they start filling the hole, and everybody's, of course, filming it and seeing that he is a man of the people. Also, I loved in his New Year's speech, he talked about, the city doesn't need to be saved by a guy who wears a skull on his t-shirt, or a guy who dresses up as a spider, or as a guy who dresses up as a devil. Of course, obviously referencing Punisher, Spider-Man, and Daredevil. I really, really love that. Also, I need to give a shout out to Michael Gandolfini, who played Daniel Blade in the show. I think he does a really good job as a person who wants to support Fisk and will do so to maybe not an extreme level, but a level that is so far tolerable. Um, Matt is working at a new law firm, Murdoch and McDuffie. Kirsten McDuffie, played by Nikki M. James. She also does a really good job in this. And Kirsten tried to set up Matt with Heather, Margarita Levieva. Again, sorry about last names. And that happened in the first episode. Now that seemed to be more of a thing in this second episode. But this episode deals with Hector Ayaya. Again, sorry for last names. Played by the late Karma de los Reyes. He will eventually, they actually did show him on a news report as whitetiger. He was convicted of killing a police officer, and Matt Murdock takes on his case, even though it would very firmly put him against the officers. But he still takes on that case because he knows that he is innocent. Of course, he keeps digging and digging until he eventually finds the witness, or the person that was getting robbed by these officers, and basically tells him to get out of there, and that Cherry would be waiting for him in a park to pick him up and bring him to safety. Which then leads us to the apartment fight that we saw a bit of in the trailer, where Matt breaks the dude's arm, and I think also in this fight he slams him against not necessarily a wall, but like a place where like there's beams and it breaks. Um, Matt chucks the other cop into a fridge and he's bloodied up and brings him down onto his neck. And I was like, ooh, it might have killed a person. But of course, Matt saying to Fisk, "I've left my darker half behind." Well, clearly, the darker half got out a little bit there in that fight, and that's where episode 2 ends. This is a breakdown, or my reaction, to episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again, named The Hollow of His Hand. This episode mainly focuses on the trial for Hector Ayala and what happened with the 2 cops on the subway station. At first, it seems like the cops, or the people, are going to win the case because Hockenberg, I believe is the cop's lawyer name, is making it seem like, all these cops are innocent, and especially with what happened at the end of episode 2, in which Powell, I legitimately thought that Powell might have died, but no, he just got a black eye, because him and Matt meet up in a bathroom and have a little chat, a little discussion. So the trial is going on. It seems like the cops are going to win that case until Matt pulls out the big guns and reveals Hector's secret identity as Whitetiger. And once everybody knows that he is this mass vigilante and hear all the good things that he's done for other people, including the cops, Hector is acquitted of all his charges and he is able to walk free. Meanwhile, Fisk and Vanessa are still having troubles. Gangs are slowly but surely eating each other. And Vanessa is still trying to hold a bit of power, a little bit of sway in the underbelly. Meanwhile, Fisk is trying to, actually keep his nose clean and actually do the right thing. And I'll talk about it later, but I'm doing like the recap right now. But I want to talk about a specific shot and when we first meet up with them. But we'll talk about that later. Once Fisk hears that Hector was acquitted and he walked, he says to his assistant Daniel to contact BB Urich again and that he wants to talk. And he's telling BB that, he ran on the promise of keeping masked vigilantes out of the city, that they're a scourge on the city. And we see Hector, getting suited up as Whitetiger. While Fisk is talking about this, he hears a woman scream, and he's going to take care of the situation when a guy walks out, pulls a gun out, and shoots Hector / Whitetiger in the head. And he walks away from the scene. The light shines on his chest area, and it's the Punisher logo. Punisher's here, and he just killed Hector / Whitetiger, and that is where the episode ends. Oh, it was such a good reveal for Punisher in this episode. So good. That was so well done. Sad that Hector. Why did I say Victor? I'm thinking of something else. It's sad that Hector died in this episode, because he seemed like a genuinely like nice dude. And I think I saw somewhere, I think maybe on what was formerly Twitter, that I think either like immediately after, or just a little bit after episode 3 was shot, Camar de los Reyes passed away. Don't exactly quote me on that, but that's what I remember seeing. Um, the way that this episode was shot was really, really good. There, going back to that one scene that I was talking about, there was this one shot in which it starts out with Fisk eating his like omelet and stuff, and the camera tilts up to meet his eye line, and then it cuts to the wide of him and Vanessa at the table. It just reminded me so much of Citizen Kane in that one shot of, them sitting really close at the table and then gradually getting farther and farther apart as the years goes on. I love that camera shot. The way that they shot the mob kind of taking over the truck, I thought that was really, really cool, where the guy was like, the gangster robbing the truck was like, "Oh, you think you're a tough guy?" The guy flashes the gun, and then it cuts to his partner, and then you just see blood splatter all over his face, and then it cuts back to the guy holding the gun in the window. I thought that was really, really clever, really, really good job on that. I'm going to assume that next episode we may actually get to see Frank Castle, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I think the biggest standout in this episode was definitely Camar de los Reyes. He was really, really good in this. Not only with his scenes up on the stand, but there was one scene in which him and Matt are in his holding cell, and he's just talking about like all the stuff that he would see in, I believe he said Puerto Rico, with like the beaches and all the stuff, and the specific frog, the coqui, I believe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. With its chirp, I was just like, it was so heartwarming to see, and I'm very sad that he passed away before we could all, heap praise on him. But I'm glad that he was able to be in these 2 episodes at least. I just got done watching Daredevil Born Again episode 4. This episode was entitled Sic Semper Systema. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I wanted to look up the English translation. And it is roughly translates to "thus always to the system," which is, kind of fitting for this episode. In this episode, this broad generalization first, and then we're going to talk into some bit more details. But in this episode, it is seeming as though Matt and Wilson Fisk are taking one step closer to reverting back to their old devilish ways. But let's talk about that in more depth, shall we? The episode opens up with Matt visiting the coroner's office after Hector Ayala's death on the streets, and coroner tells him all the details, and Hector's, I believe it was niece, either daughter or niece, one of the two. She eventually finds her way to the coroner's office and says, "I want to see my." I'm assuming Tio is uncle in Spanish. I didn't take Spanish. I took German in high school, but I know a little bit of Spanish. So I assume Tio is uncle, so I'm assuming niece. Um, and Matt is able to, take her away, and she kind of lays bare, kind of the theme or the argument of the episode is like, you got him out of jail, or crooked cops put him in jail. You got him out of jail, and those same crooked cops killed him. Like, it's not fair. Um, and that's also kind of mirrored throughout the episode in a couple of different ways. One, Matt is helping a guy in prison named Leroy Bradford, who is put in jail because he stole some items from a bodega, and he's like, "Look, I want probation," and Matt's like, "Well, with your rap sheet, you'll be lucky to get probation." And so he goes and um, talks with, um, you know, I believe her name was Sophia. Yeah, Sophia. Spelled weird, by the way. It's not the typical way you spell Sophia, but whatever. Um, Able to talk her down to 10 days of, I assume, jail time. I assume, because it's not house arrest, I assume it's jail time. And Leroy's like, "Dude, I wanted probation." And he lays bare to Matt, like, his case. It's like, you know, I do what I do because I'm hungry. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to get my scratch, and you know they lock me up, and they're gonna spend 5 times more money than what I taken from the store. So I just want, just want. I'm just trying to live, essentially, and Matt is like, he's slowly starting to realize that the system itself may be just a bit broken. Same goes for Fisk. He goes to the Red Hook ports and is wanting to make a complete overhaul. And he's thinking, oh, I can just say it and then immediately get it. But no, Sheila says that there's some procedures that have to happen before this all gets done. We have to do zoning stuff, traffic, emissions, all this other stuff before jumping into doing things. And Fisk is, you can tell he's biting his tongue uh, with that, and it is eating him up. Um, but yeah, that's definitely a lot of parallelisms, much like in the Netflix show of Matt and Fisk, you know, realizing the exact same thing at the exact same time. Side note, I just want to say that Fisk being at the music class and is hearing the kids sing "We Built This City on Rock and Roll," you can tell he was in hell. You can tell he was in hell, and he was just like, "Nope, I don't want to hear another song. I want to get out of here." That was so good. That was so good. Um, we get another counseling session between Vanessa and Fisk, and kind of like laying bare, what happened. We get a bit more of Vanessa's backstory during that session, and later on in the episode, we get another Kingpin "When I Was a Boy" speech, which I think many people will be very excited about. Um, I think the standout scene in this episode is Matt finding the bullet casing and immediately knowing who to go to. Frank Castle. John Bernthal returning for this show, and him and Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock, have an amazing dialogue scene where basically Castle's like, "Yeah, that feeling that you have inside of you, that's happened to me." and it was just beautiful, beautiful back and forth dialogue. It is so good, and I think it kind of gives somewhat of an explanation as to why Matt hasn't put the suit back on. But at the end of the episode, he does go back to his place where he has his gear, gets his batons, and starts practicing. Meanwhile, Fisk goes to a secret location, gets a nice dinner, and we see Adam for the first time. We've heard Adam a few times throughout the series, but now we actually see him. And he's locked up, looking disheveled, and once Fisk gets done eating his food, he's gonna kick the absolute crap out of him. Oh, it's not gonna be a fun time for Adam, I'm afraid. And also, during this episode, we get a couple of shots of Muse. One at the beginning, where we see him carry a body on the train tracks, and later on at the bookend, to bookend the episode, we have him carry him into his lair, and he starts draining the blood out of his most recent victim, which I think is really, really cool, because that is how Muse gets his paint for his paintings in the comics. He uses people's blood, which I found very, very interesting, and I love the fact that they showed that. Episode 5, With Interest. After Matt started to use his batons a little bit at the tail end of episode 4, Matt sees himself in the midst of a bank robbery, and it is up to him and him alone to try and stop this. So I was wondering why on earth they decided to release 2 episodes after the premiere. And I looked at the run times of both the episodes, and this one was only 41 minutes. So it clicked by really, really quickly. But it was also a very interesting and really, really good bottle episode where in the recap they talk about, getting money for the firm, and so that's the reason why Matt goes to a bank to try and get money for his firm. But he bumps into Yusuf Khan, yes, Kamala Khan's dad, making a brief appearance in this episode. At the end of the episode, he talks about, having Matt over for dinner, and I'm wondering if we will get a Kamala Khan cameo in this show. I don't necessarily need that, or need that in the show, but wanting it, that would be a different thing. I would really want that. So, it'd just be a really cool thing. But this sees the I'm just going to call them the Irish gang, kind of team up, or not necessarily team up, go into this bank and try and steal the 1.8, or I'm assuming 1.8, I'm assuming 1.8 carats, but that diamond didn't look 1.8 carats. I'm assuming it's probably a lot more. But, this is the first time that Matt has actually got to, deal with criminals since the incident at the beginning of the season with Foggy's death. So it was just really interesting to see, he's not, he may be a touch rusty, but he's still pretty got it. He subdued the red Irish member pretty easily, and I love the fact that he knew that the shotgun was about to fall off of the stairwell, and he caught it while he was still choking out the red one, the red Irish gang member, and I just love the fact that him and Mr. Khan just made a really, really good team. Even though, Mr. Khan was, I would say like not the best at like stalling, but he stalled just enough for Matt to come in, knock out the blue Irish gang member, and I love when he opens the vault. It shows the close up of all like the locks and stuff like ticking past. I thought that was a really cool shot. Um, they eventually do find what the robbers slash gang members are looking for, which is a diamond, an orange diamond, looking very soul stony. Eric Voss made the joke on New Rockstars, like the gang members have all the colors of the Infinity Stones as their masks, and I just find that absolutely hysterical and also true. So Matt's able to defuse the situation, hand off the diamond while also stalling enough time for the cops to come in and kind of save all the hostages. I do like how they synced up the countdown of Devlin, the leader, counting down with the cop, Rodriguez, counting down as well. Matt is able to get out of the situation and find Devlin in an awning way, donning the red mask so he doesn't, because Devlin did see his face. They have a brief skirmish where Matt smashes his face into a bottle and then broke his leg. Oh, oh God. Oh, that was so... Oh, that was so bad. And then also knocked him out. But beforehand, Devlin handed off the diamond to one of the hostages who was in on it. But it turns out that Devlin actually pulled a fast one and actually put one of Yusuf Khan's little candies in the cinch sack. And then Matt, like maybe next day or so, just goes to the bank and sees how Mr. Khan is doing, and he's doing really well. And it says it's not going to change anything about the application for the loan. And I love the fact that Matt says, I got to try one of these candies," and he tries it and likes it. But that was the way that he got the diamond back into the bank. In this episode of Daredevil Born Again, titled Excessive Force. Let me just see if I'm saying that. Yes, it is titled Excessive Force. So, in this episode, Matt and Fisk are both trying to balance their normal lives, their front-facing lives, I should say, of, playing right by the book, and their darker lives. In Matt's case, going and finding Muse, and for Fisk, it's torturing Adam even more. This episode was really good and really interesting. I just remember a lot of the discussion around the first run of the show on Netflix, and it's showing the dualities of Matt and Fisk, and how they are very much the same person if you look at it from a certain lens. And this episode does that tremendously in spades. With Matt's case, it is Angela Ayala, the believe niece, because Angela or Hector was Angela's uncle, I believe. So I think I have that relation correct. Angela goes to Matt and says, people should be doing something about this. and no one's doing a single thing. And so Angela decides and go and try to find Muse, but ends up getting taken by him. And so it is up to Matt to rescue her. And the fight that goes down between Daredevil and Muse is really, really good. I did not think Muse had much fighting ability to him, but he impressed me a lot in this sequence. I thought he did a really, really good job. Whoever the stunt actor was for Muse, great job on that. Really, really good job. I also found, before I talk about what I would want to talk about, continuing with my thread, let's talk about Fisk's story. Fisk is not only having to deal with the perceptions and the reality of him being mayor, like making appearances, putting on a front, and all that stuff. He also had to deal with Luca, who came in, and he negotiated the 1.8 to being a 2.8. And, making all these appearances, and also learning about Muse and how much of a toll he has taken, or how much of a body count he has taken on the city. And Fisk is wanting to do something because he just zones everybody out who's talking about Muse, and he says, look, we're going to do things my way. He puts together his own task force, which includes Powell, one of the dirty cops, and we actually get to see Cole North, who, from set photos, I believe, had on Punisher-inspired gear. So I'm going to assume that this anti-vigilante task force that Fisk's put together is definitely the guys who are co-opting Punisher's, I want to say IP, but he's branding, essentially, the skull and using it as their own. And then, of course, Fisk goes down and takes care of Adam. Not killing him, although he did bring down an axe for Adam to use, and they have I'm not even going to say a fight. Adam just gets beat up by Fisk. And I sincerely thought that Fisk was actually going to kill Adam, but no, he just beats him up enough to just leave him unconscious and puts him back in his cell. And I love the syncing of the fights between Daredevil and Muse, and then Fisk and Adam. When Fisk went to do a headbutt, it cut immediately back over to Daredevil and Muse, and Daredevil's giving Muse a headbutt. Just really, really good intercutting between the fights to show that Kingpin and Daredevil are basically one and the same. And I just love that the continuing thread of they're basically the same character has carried on over from the Netflix show to this show. I absolutely love that. For a second, I thought Angela was going to die, but no, actually. In an inverse moment of what happened at the beginning of the season, Matt is actually able to save Angela, and she's able to live on and potentially become the next whitetiger in the MCU. But Muse does slip away. Matt was choking him with his with like either a cord or a rope, and Muse was able to slip away. And I just love the ending line. Angela says, "Daredevil, is that you?" And Daredevil basically says, "Yeah, it's me. I'm back." And boy, howdy, are we glad that he is back, because I have a feeling that the task force is going to be taken down. Something may happen with Fisk and Vanessa. Don't know what, but it's going to be very, very interesting. And I am so excited to see what these last 3 episodes have in store for us. And today, I watched episode 7, titled Art for Art's Sake. With both Daredevil and Kingpin starting to resurface, they are both after the artist Muse. It's just up to Daredevil to get to him first before Kingpin does. So, this one was very much a Muse-centric episode, kind of wrapping up Muse's kind of like through line throughout some of the episodes in the series. And I really like the fact that this episode kind of took on a Seven approach, where the killer makes himself known, and then it is up to others to try and stop him, essentially. In the episode, Matt is starting to get more and more used to, going out as Daredevil. That Heather is starting to notice. She says, you're coming home with bruises on your body. You leave your suit or your briefcase here. Like, what is going on with you? And Matt just chalks it up to, dealing with a lot of stuff and, not telling the whole truth. And at the end of the episode, he hasn't told her, but I have a feeling she might know. But they leave it at that. Matt tries to get Cherry to help out with this case, but Cherry isn't having it. He doesn't want to see Matt throw away his life again. Detective Kim is actually the one that goes to look up Muse's lair, gives all the findings to Mayor Fisk, and they basically have whittled it down to 12 people who buy this very expensive, very high-end canvas that they found at the crime scene. They've talked to 11 of them, and Bastion is the one guy that they haven't found. And he just so happens to go to the office of Heather's, Matt's interest, and also Mayor Fisk's psychiatrist for his marriage counseling. So Bastion is explaining his whole backstory while Detective Kim gives Fisk his whole rap sheet. He was involuntary incarcerated at ages 15, 17, and 20. Took up Taekwondo when he was 16. His karate instructor moved into the house with him, and then a couple months later, his body was found on the property. Pretty sure Bastion killed him. And I love the way that it intercuts between, Bastion, telling, Heather, you were the key to unlocking my true self, because he met her once before at that book signing that she was at. And now he's meeting her here at her office, basically saying, you were the key to unlocking my true self. And I have to give a big shout out to Hunter Doohan. I hope I'm saying that last name correctly. But he did an amazing job, and I believe, if I remember correctly, he was in Beetlejuice as a dead ghost who tried to get Astrid's life. And I believe in Beetlejuice 2, he was also he also killed his parents as well. So it's just very interesting to see, that he's in 2 high-profile projects. He's played a crazy killer both times. I just find that very interesting. but he basically lays out his whole thing to Heather, and he's now fully changed into his Muse outfit. He's going to drain her of her blood to basically create his next art piece. But Kingpin's task force, anti-vigilante task force, shows up to the scene, and so does Daredevil. Daredevil and Muse get into a big fight, and Muse appears as though he may shoot Heather, but Daredevil beats him up enough, uses his staff to impale him, like right here in the shoulder, non-lethally, throws him against a bookshelf, just beating the snot out of him, and then Heather deals the final blow by shooting him 4 times in the chest, and then she faints. And of course, Matt, caring for her, stabilizes her, and she's able to get to a hospital and eventually recover. And I think she's starting to put 2 and 2 together, because she says, like, there was somebody else there, and he said my name. And I think she may slowly put 2 and 2 together that Matt is Daredevil. Also in the episode, Luca meets up with Vanessa to talk business. Luca saying, rules were much simpler when you were in control, and why does Fisk want to, be mayor? Vanessa says, I have no idea why he wants to do this, but, and basically Luca says, you're either with us or you're against us. And basically at the end of the episode, it seemed as though Vanessa was very much going to turn on her husband. She basically gave him his location. He's all alone, and Luca walks into like this fancy restaurant and pulls out a gun. It appears as though he's going to shoot Kingpin, but Buck, standing in the shadows, shoots Luca, and I wonder what on earth is going to happen when Kingpin. I'm assuming he knows. Either he knows that Vanessa was the one to do this, or he may think it's somebody else. But I will be very interested to see what Kingpin's response is, because there is another shot from, I think, the first trailer that dropped, where we see Vanessa and Kingpin eating in front of the bloodied rabbit in a snowstorm painting. I don't know if that will be something that will be approached in the final episode or what, but it'll be very interesting to see how this is wrapped up. Today I watched episode 8, Isle of Joy. The mayor is throwing a black and white ball as he not only gains more power in front of the public eye, but also behind the scenes as well. And it is up to Matt to try and put all the pieces together to pin down who is really pulling the strings. So this episode was absolutely crazy. From what I remember hearing about, like, all the creative stuff that happened, the creative shakeup for the show, Dario Scartapane, who was, I had misspoken all the way back in my episode 1 review, that he worked on the original run of Daredevil. No, he worked on the Punisher show, and then was brought on to do the reshoots and kind of do rewrites and everything during the creative overhaul for the show. He wrote this episode, and Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who are also executive producers on this show, directed this episode. And gosh, it was really, really well directed. Really well directed. Every single time that we cut to Poindexter, the lighting goes blue for just a brief second, which I thought was really, really cool. Um, in this episode, like, Matt's relationship with Heather is kind of raveling because, he's trying to keep the secret that, he is Daredevil. Um, Heather is invited to the mayor's ball, and while Matt is keeping secrets from Heather, Fisk decides to get everything out in the open. He takes Vanessa to where he was keeping Adam locked up, including Rabbit in a Snowstorm, in the back, which I love the fact that they kind of call this back in the final shots of this episode, which I'll get to in a little bit. But as soon as they walked down there, I was like, there has to be a gun on the table. And sure enough, Vanessa shoots Adam while in the cell. And essentially, Vanessa and Fisk kiss and make up. They're all good now. Matt's starting to lose it a little bit. He's showing up late, got bruises on his face, talking rough, or not talking rough, just talking mean to clients at his firm, and everything is unraveling. He's outside of Josie's, of course, the place where the incident took place, and Matt goes inside and has a few drinks. Cherry walks in and basically tells Matt, "Look, you're throwing your life away for this, for all of this going on. Like, I see you as a guy in pain. I don't want that from you." And Josie decides to bring out some O'Melvenies. Now, if you remember, Foggy and Matt drank that only when they won cases. And he was drinking it the night of the incident. Foggy knew he was going to win that case with Dumb Benny. So, who set up the hit on Foggy? Well, Matt goes to talk to Poindexter. And Poindexter is not giving him a straight answer. He is not giving him a straight answer. And by the time, well, I shouldn't say by the time the guard shows up, what basically happens is Matt bashes Poindexter's head into the table, knocks on the door and says, "Guard." He's just started banging his head on the table. And, that gets Poindexter taken away. And I also love the fact that, Poindexter was like, "It was nice meeting you, counselor," and then Matt just immediately gives him a "fuck you," just like, "I don't want to hear anything from you." But much like in The Dark Knight, when Batman smashed Joker's head into that glass, bashing Poindexter's head into that table was a very big mistake on Matt's part, because it broke a tooth. He spat that tooth into the eye of a doctor that was giving him stitches on his forehead, and he was able to break himself free and escape from prison. Meanwhile, at the ball, Matt is overhearing Fisk making some dealings with some wealthy individuals, trying to not only, because he has the public funds, but he needs private investors for the Red Hook project. So basically, Fisk is bullying people into supporting his Red Hook project, including Jacques Duquesne, swordsman. You might remember him from an earlier episode in the series, but he is also in the Hawkeye series as well. So I like that little interconnection right there. And I also love the fact that, Matt is trying to get at Fisk, and he has a pretty good shot at it, but the band starts up, and Vanessa's like, "Oh, let's have the first dance." and you know that Vanessa was the one to totally was like, hey, get the band started. And then Matt and Heather find themselves on the dance floor, and of course Matt, using his super hearing, um, hears Vanessa say, "I have something to tell you," and Fisk is like, "No, not here, not now." Um, and Matt puts two and two together, and he figures out that it was Vanessa that ended up putting the hit out on Foggy, which makes a lot of sense because she did take over Fisk's operations while he was away, kind of recovering from being shot in the eye and also being in the Echo series, being in where was that set? Oklahoma, might have been Oklahoma, dealing with Maya in the Echo series. So it makes a bit of sense. But Poindexter was able to find out their location. Oh, before I get to this, I should also say BB Urich also met up with the police chief and was talking to him. Police chief was like, I I liked what you wrote about the Muse killings, but I have to say it was weird that you identified the heroes as the task force when everyone and their mother knows it was Daredevil. And BB Urich was like, well, you know, it's what I had to do. And police chief was like, well, when did you become Fisk's PR manager? And BB says, well, when did you become captain of the SS over there? And police chief was like, task force wasn't me, it was all Fisk. And BB Urich starts to slowly contemplate that, and police chief was like, Fisk was the main person behind your uncle's murder, which is a nice little callback to, I believe, season 1 of the original Netflix show, in which Ben Urich was indeed punched to death by Wilson Fisk. And so police chief was like, I have every single file of all those bad cops on the task force. If you want to look at it, I wouldn't mind. And BB ends up giving her, or giving him her card, and it was like, there's an email on the back, and also says, not everything that I write is under my real name, so ought to be very interesting. But back to it, Poindexter does find his way into the building. He ends up taking out a guard with like a, I don't like like a steak tong. It was a two-forked tong that he like stabbed in a dude's neck. Matt is able to hear him up on the balcony load the gun, and he steps into the line of fire. He saves Fisk's life and takes a shot in the shoulder. Of course, everyone freaks out. They run out of the building. Fisk and Vanessa get out. And I also love the fact that Fisk wore a white suit and had Matt's blood sprayed all over that suit. Another instance of Rabbit in a Snowstorm being ruined. And just like how Foggy was at the beginning of the season, Matt here towards the tail end of the season is shot in the shoulder, and that's where the episode ends. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in next week's finale. I'm very interested in seeing that. My assumption is Vanessa might send out the task force to try and deal with Daredevil, because she very clearly knows that he knows that she put out the hit on Foggy to get him killed. So she'll probably kind of convince Fisk, like, hey, why don't you, like, go after Matt with your task force? And that's when Matt and, my assumption, Punisher will just clear house with the task force, and it'll be now out in the open. And what happens after that, I have nary a clue. All I know is that I'm very excited for next week's finale. It's going to be so good. Episode 9, entitled Straight to Hell. And in this episode, Matt races against not only time, but also the Fisks as they try to take over the city whole stop. But meanwhile, Frank and Matt, yes, Frank does return in this episode. Frank and Matt they're a little bit preoccupied during this time period. Are they going to be able to stop the Fisks? Well, let's talk about that, shall we? So yes, I spoiled it in my intro there, but yes, Frank does indeed return, and he kills a lot of people in that task force, brutally, I might add, and it was very, very cool to see Frank do his thing. And it was also cool to see Daredevil and Punisher fight side by side against each other. We also found out that Cold North was indeed the person that killed Hector Ayala earlier on in the season, and he said, "Look, I had to do what I had to do, stand on my own. I can die a happy man." And of course, Frank is the one saying, "Go ahead, do it, kill him." But of course, Matt won't overstep that boundary. And of course, they fight. But they are able to escape a grenade that landed in the apartment, and they were able to skydive back down until someone pulls up. And it is Deborah Ann Woll's character, who I completely freaking forgot. Oh my gosh. Yes, I'm going to leave this in because I want you guys to shame me for not having Karen. There we go. Karen shows up. I don't know why that name slipped off the top of my head, but it did. Karen showed up and picked both of them up and took them back to Frank's hideout. And I just love the chemistry between all three of them, Deborah Ann Woll, Charlie Cox, and John Bernthal. Their chat in Frank's little bunker was so good. And you can tell that Karen and Frank still have just a little bit of chemistry, and Matt even points that out. He's like, I heard your guys' heartbeats when you were talking with each other. And Karen's like, oh, Frank was hopped up on adrenaline. I was like, did you hear mine when you saw me for the first time? And like, yep. And like, and I was like, oh, it's probably adrenaline. Like, they all three of them like have feelings for one another, which was it's so good. I also love jumping back in the episode. I love the fact that we started with a flashback to 1 year ago before Poindexter was released. Vanessa showed up and basically convinced him to basically sign over like him getting a release, considering an appeal. And that's how he was able to get out, and it was indeed Vanessa that put out the hit on Benjamin Carraro, I believe that was his last name, and Foggy. We found that out in this episode. I also loved the little detail of Frank nabbing one of the task force's radios, and he has that and he listens and he's like, screw it, I'm just going to go and kill as many of the task force as I can. But eventually they did indeed catch him, and I just love the fact he's, zip tied to the chair, and one dude's punching on him and he's like, that's not so bad, like, that's all you can do, like, just taunting the shit out of him. I love Frank. I love him so much. He really does not give two shits, and I love it. Meanwhile, Karen and Matt, they find out where the whole operation is stationed. Um, and, Karen's like, if you go in there, you're going to die. And if you do go in there, you're going to start killing people. And Matt is like, I know, you're right. And basically says, we need to build an army. And so Fisk is getting his forces ready, weeding out the bad apple, what he sees as bad apples, but really people that are doing good, trying to do good for the city, including Gallo. Now, this was brilliant. Gallo is taken to what I assume is Red Hook, into an area where there's like, I don't want to, it's not acrylic, but it's, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's basically those like clear sheets that you see in like mob movies where it's like, they shoot at it and it's like all the blood goes everywhere, so the blood isn't on the crime scene. You know what I'm talking about. But he walks in, all of the corrupt cops are there, Buck's there, and of course Fisk is there. And he's given this speech to the cops that are there, saying that, we're going to defend this city. And all the while, he is squeezing Gallo's head. And for a second, I thought he was just going to go and squash his head like a grape. No. What he ends up doing is he changes his grip, rips Gallo's jaw open, and also rips his scalp off. And I hope and pray that was a prosthetic head. If that was a prosthetic head, oh, I would be a happy man. Because that looked so good. Oh, it just made a horror movie lover in me happy. It just made me so happy to see that, and I hope that was practical because that was awesome. And Fisk basically enacts martial law over New York. He applies his Safer Streets initiative, which means, cops can do whatever they want. Curfews at 8. No vigilante activity. That's illegal. And New York is under martial law. And he ends it with saying, I love New York. And the Kingpin is truly out in full force in New York. And Daredevil has assembled his team, Karen, Cherry, some select cops, and also my assumption is some other vigilantes that may also be in New York. I can't remember specifically who. I can't remember a web slinger that might want to team with him. I don't know. But there was a post-credit scene at the end of this episode where Frank is talking to one of the task force guys because one of the final scenes was Vanessa and Fisk walking to where Adam was held. And they walk past all sorts of vigilantes and people that they've trapped, including Frank. So Frank is talking to one of the guards. His name was Antonio Petrucci. Basically, like, butter him up. It's like, oh, where are you from? Jersey. Oh, you from Jersey? Yeah, yeah, yeah. A little bit about me. So on and so forth. Sticks his hand out of the cell to shake the guard's hand, and of course the guard, either not fully knowing Frank or just being stupid, takes that handshake. Frank slams him against the cage door, breaks his arm and wrist over that cage. And my assumption is he's going to escape. So, I know Bernthal has said that he has been writing a Punisher thing for Disney Plus that'll either come out later this year or late into next year. One of the two. But yeah, it was just so cool to see Frank do all his stuff, and I'm so happy that John Bernthal is back to play the role. It was so awesome. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the show. My overall thoughts for this season, I thought it was pretty good. The way that they were able to manage both the shows, the old show and then the reworked show, or the reworked episodes that they had shot during the creative overhaul, it fit together seamlessly. It fit together so well, and they actually made it like cohesive, and which is very, very impressive. Everyone did an amazing job. Everyone was so good. Standouts to me, obviously, Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio. I would also say John Bernthal as well. He was also really, really good. But even some of the newer guys that were in there, Michael Gandolfini, I thought he did a really good job. He was looking very mobster-esque in the end of the finale. And the actress that played Heather, I thought she did a really good job. I didn't even mention this. Heather joins up with Mayor Fisk to be on his, I think the title was Commissioner for Mental Health. So that's going to divide Matt and Heather a little bit more. Their relationship may get a little bit testy next season. But I loved everyone in this show. This show is probably a top 5 MCU Disney Plus show. It may be recency bias right now, and I just got done watching it, but I really do think that this is probably a top 5 MCU Disney Plus show. Like, it's really, really good. And I'm so looking forward to season 2. If they stick the landing with season 2, it will for sure be top 5. It will for sure be top 5. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All 9 episodes of Daredevil Born Again in one video. Of course, you can go back and check out all of the individual videos. You can go back and go through the archives, or you can go and check out the new playlist, my Daredevil Born Again playlist that I just now put together. All my Daredevil content will be right there in that playlist, so don't you worry about trying to go and scour through the videos on my channel. It's all in one place now, so got you covered on that one. Also, we have the new mic now. We're back to the new mic. Just going through all that footage, I was like, oh yeah, that I did use my old my old mic that I used in college. Now I actually have a bit of a professional mic now. So that was fun going down memory lane, seeing all that. But like I said in the beginning, Daredevil Born Again Season 2 is just a few days away, and we're going to be covering it right here on the channel. So be sure to stay tuned for those reviews over the coming weeks on the channel. I'm so hyped that this show is back, guys. I cannot wait to start watching this show again. It's going to be so much fun. But until then, guys, be safe out there. And just be sure to, lock your doors at night, because you don't know if the anti-vigilante task force is going to come in and just start ransacking your house, looking for vigilantes left, right, and center. Just keep that in mind. And I will see you guys for the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 premiere on March 24th. Well, my videos will be out probably on March 25th, but you get what I'm saying. I'll catch you guys next time.